Education is the key to a bright future.
Salman Rushdie. Good advice is rarer than rubies. On the last Tuesday of the month, the dawn bus, its headlamps still shining, brought Miss Hana to the gates of the British consulate. It arrived pushing a cloud of dust, veiling her beauty from the eyes of strangers until she descended. The bus was brightly painted in multicolored arabesques, and on the front it said, "Move over, darling," in green and gold letters. On the back, it added "Tata Bata" and also "OK, good life." Miss Hana told the driver it was a beautiful bus, and he jumped down and held the door open for her, bowing theatrically as she descended. Miss Hana's eyes were large and black and bright enough not to need the help of antimony, and when the advice expert Muhammad Ali saw them, he felt himself becoming young again. He watched her approaching the consulate gates as the lights strengthened and asking the bearded Lala who guarded them in a gold-button hockey uniform with a cockaded turban when they would open. The Lala, usually so rude to the consulate's Tuesday women, answered Miss Hana with something like courtesy. "Half an hour," he said gruffly. "Maybe 2 hours. Who knows? The sahibs are eating their breakfast." The dusty compound between the bus stop and the consulate was already full of Tuesday women, some veiled, a few bare-faced, like Miss Hana. They all looked frightened and leaned heavily on the arms of uncles or brothers who were trying to look confident. But Miss Hana had come on her own and did not seem at all alarmed. Muhammad Ali, who specialized in advising the most vulnerable-looking of these weakly supplicants, found his feet leading him towards the strange, big-eyed, independent girl. "Miss," he began, "you have come for permit to London, I think so?" She was standing at a hot snack stall in the little shanty town by the edge of the compound, munching chili pakoras contentedly. She turned to look at him, and at close range, those eyes did bad things to his digestive tract. "Yes, I have." "Then please, you allow me to give some advice? Small cost only." Miss Hana smiled. "Good advice is rarer than rubies," she said. "But alas, I cannot pay. I am an orphan, not one of your wealthy ladies." "Trust my gray hairs," Muhammad Ali urged her. "My advice is well tempered by experience. You will certainly find it good." She shook her head. "I tell you, I am a poor potato. There are women here with male family members, all earning good wages. Go to them. Good advice should find good money." "I am going crazy," Muhammad Ali thought, because he heard his voice telling her of its own volition. "Miss, I have been drawn to you by fate. What to do? Our meeting was written. I also am a poor man only, but for you my advice comes free." She smiled again. "Then I must surely listen. When fate sends a gift, one receives good fortune." He led her to the low wooden desk in his own special corner of the shanty town. She followed, continuing to eat pakoras from a little newspaper packet. She did not offer him any. Muhammad Ali put a cushion on the dusty ground. "Please to sit." She did as he asked. He sat cross-legged across the desk from her, conscious that 2 or 3 dozen pairs of male eyes were watching him enviously, that all the other shantytown men were ogling the latest young lovely to be charmed by the old gray-hair fraud. He took a deep breath to settle himself. "Name, please?" "Miss Hana," she told him. fiancé of Mustafa Dar of Bradford, London. Bradford, England, he corrected her gently. London is a town only, like Multan or Bahawalpur. England is a great nation full of the coldest fish in the world. I see, thank you, she responded gravely, so that he was unsure if she was making fun of him. You have filled the application form? Then let me see, please. She passed him a neatly folded document in a brown envelope. Is it okay? For the first time there was a note of anxiety in her voice. He patted the desk quite near the place where her hand rested. I am certain, he said. Wait on, and I will check. She finished the packras while he scanned her papers. Tip-top, he pronounced at length. All in order. Thank you for your advice, she said, making as if to rise. I'll go now and wait by the gate. What are you thinking? He cried loudly, smiting his forehead. You consider this is easy business? Just give the form and poof! With a big smile they hand over the permit? Miss Hana, I tell you, you are entering a worse place than any police station. Is it so, truly? His oratory had done the trick. She was a captive audience now, and he would be able to look at her for a few moments longer. Drawing another calming breath, he launched into his sad speech. He told her that the Sahibs thought that all the women who came on Tuesdays claiming to be dependents of bus drivers in Luton or chartered accountants in Manchester were crooks and liars and cheats. She protested. But then I will simply tell them that I, for one, am no such thing. Her innocence made him shiver with fear for her. She was a sparrow, he told her, and they were men with hooded eyes, like hawks. He explained that they would ask her questions, personal questions, questions such as a lady's own brother would be too shy to ask. They would ask if she was a virgin, and if not, what her fiancé's love-making habits were, and what secret nicknames they had invented for one another. Muhammad Ali spoke brutally on purpose to lessen the shock she would feel when it or something like it actually happened. Her eyes remained steady, but her hands began to flutter at the edges of the desk. He went on. They will ask you how many rooms are in your family home, and what color are the walls, and what days do you empty the rubbish. They will ask your man's mother's third cousin's aunt's stepdaughter's middle name. And all these things they have already asked your Mustafa Dar in his Bradford. And if you make one mistake, you are finished. Yes, she said, and he could hear her disciplining her voice. And what is your advice, old man? It was at this point that Muhammad Ali usually began to whisper urgently, to mention that he knew a man, a very good type, who worked in the consulate, and through him, for a fee, the necessary papers could be delivered with all the proper authenticating seals. Business was good because the women would often pay him 500 rupees or give him a gold bracelet for his pains and go away happy. They came from hundreds of miles away. He normally made sure of this before beginning to trick them. So even when they discovered they had been swindled, they were unlikely to return. They went away to Sarkodha or La Loquette and began to pack. And who knows at what point they found out that they had been gulled. But it was at a too late point anyway. Life is hard, and an old man must live by his wits. It was not up to Muhammad Ali to have compassion for these Tuesday women. But once again, his voice betrayed him. And instead of starting his customary speech, it began to reveal to her his greatest secret. "Miss Rihanna," his voice said, and he listened to it in amazement. "You are a rare person, a jewel, and for you I will do what I would not do for my own daughter, perhaps. One document has come into my possession that can solve all your worries at one stroke." "And what is this sorcerer's paper?" she asked, her eyes unquestionably laughing at him now. His voice fell low as low. "Miss Rihanna, it is a British passport, completely genuine and puka codes. I have a good friend who will put your name and photo, and then, hey presto, England, there you come." He had said it. Anything was possible now, on this day of his insanity. Probably he would give her the thing free gratis and then kick himself for a year afterwards. "Old fool," he berated himself. "The oldest fools are bewitched by the youngest girls." "Let me understand you," she was saying. "You are proposing I should commit a crime." "Not crime," he interposed, "facilitation. And go to Bradford, London illegally and therefore justify the low opinion the consulate sahibs have of us all. Old Babuji, this is not good advice." "Bradford, England," he corrected her mournfully. "You should not take my gift in such a spirit." "Then how?" "Bibi, I am a poor fellow, and I have offered this price because you are so beautiful. Do not spit on my generosity. Take the thing, or else don't take. Go home, forget England, only do not go into that building and lose your dignity." But she was on her feet, turning away from him, walking towards the gates where the women had begun to cluster, and the Lala was swearing at them to be patient or none of them would be admitted at all. "So be a fool," Muhammad Ali shouted after her. "What goes of my fathers if you are?" Meaning, what was it to him? She did not turn. "It is the curse of our people," he yelled. "We are poor, we are ignorant, and we completely refuse to learn." "Hey, Muhammad Ali," the woman at the betel nut stall called across to him. "Too bad, she likes them young." That day Muhammad Ali did nothing but stand around near the consulate gates. Many times he scolded himself. "Go from here, old goof. Lady does not desire to speak with you any further." But when she came out, she found him waiting. "Salam, advice, wallah," she greeted him. She seemed calm and at peace with him again, and he thought, "My God, yallah, she has pulled it off. The British sahibs also have been drowning in her eyes, and she has got her passage to England." He smiled at her hopefully. She smiled back with no trouble at all. "Miss Rihanna Begum," he said, "felicitations, daughter, on what is obviously your hour of triumph." Impulsively, she took his forearm in her hand. "Come," she said, "let me buy you a pakra to thank you for your advice and to apologize for my rudeness too." They stood in the dust of the afternoon compound near the bus, which was getting ready to leave. Coolies were tying bedding rolls to the roof. A hawker shouted at the passengers, trying to sell them love stories and green medicines, both of which cured unhappiness. Miss Rihanna and a happy Muhammad Ali ate the pakora sitting on the bus front mudguard, that is, the bumper. The old advice expert began softly to hum a tune from a movie soundtrack. The day's heat was gone. It was an arranged engagement," Miss Rihanna said all at once. I was 9 years old when my parents fixed it. Mustafa Dar was already 30 at that time, but my father wanted someone who could look after me as he had done himself, and Mustafa was a man known to Dadiji as a solid type. Then my parents died, and Mustafa Dar went to England and said he would send for me. That was many years ago. I have his photo, but he's like a stranger to me. Even his voice, I do not recognize it on the phone. The confession took Muhammad Ali by surprise, but he nodded with what he hoped looked like wisdom. Still, and after all, he said, one's parents act in one's best interests. They found you a good and honest man who has kept his word and sent for you. And now you have a lifetime to get to know him and to love. He was puzzled now by the bitterness that had infected her smile. But, old man, she asked him, why have you already packed me and posted me off to England? He stood up, shocked. You looked happy, so I just assumed. Excuse me, but they turned you down or what? I got all your questions wrong, she replied. Distinguishing marks I put on the wrong cheeks, bathroom decor I completely redecorated. All absolutely topsy-turvy, you see? But what to do? How will you go? Now I will go back to Lahore and my job. I work in a great house as ayah to 3 good boys. They would have been sad to see me leave. But this is tragedy, Muhammad Ali lamented. Oh, how I pray that you had taken up my offer. Now, but it is not possible, I regret to inform. Now they have your form on file. Cross-check can be made. Even the passport will not suffice. It is spoiled, all spoiled, and it could have been so easy if advice had been taken, had been accepted in good time. I do not think, she told him, I truly do not think you should be sad. Her last smile, which he watched from the compound until the bust concealed it in a dust cloud, was the happiest thing he had ever seen in his long, hot, hard, unloving life.
Oh yeah, come on now, let's support this cause. Come on now, let's support this cause, yeah, yeah. To educate the youth, is to educate the whole world, and to empower the youth, is to empower the nation. I said to educate the youth, is to educate the whole world, and to empower the youth, is to empower the nation. I said to educate the young people, is to educate the whole world, to empower the young people, is to empower the nation. Empowermefirst.college is here. Let's join our hands to empower the youth. Empowermefirst.college is here. Let's join